The next section are a bunch of historical romances that I picked up. The first one is, now they're just falling. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my July haul. So I did terrible yet again in July, and I have a huge stack to show you. Now, in my defense, I don't really have one, but I went to the book warehouse near us a couple of times. I went to New York City and had to get some books in New York City, obviously. So there were a couple of things that I have done where I did mass purchasing. So money-wise, I didn't spend that much, but it looks like I did because there's a lot here. I don't know why I'm justifying this. There's a big haul, per usual. This is hopefully going to be the last big one for a while. So we'll see what happens in the next few months. But there's a lot here. So I shall show you what I picked up in July. The very first book that I got, actually I got a couple of pre-orders now that I'm thinking about it, was a special edition pre-order from Fairy Loot. You guys know I love me some Fairy Loot, and their special editions are just chef's kiss beautiful. And this one, I honestly, I knew I'd bought it, but I forgot. I'm really good at buying them and then keeping track of the books that I bought, so I don't buy them somewhere else by accident, but then I forget that they're coming because I don't remember when they actually are supposed to show up at my house. So when they do, it's like a surprise in the mail. That's suffice to say, I picked up The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is a new series by this author, but it's set in the Cruel Prince world. It's got beautiful end pages. The cover is stunning. There's no art under the dust jacket, which is totally fine with me. We've got these gold gilded edges, and then of course we have a signed reader's letter actually in the front of the book. So what is this book about? I don't really know, but I do kind of know. So like I said, it takes place in the Cruel Prince world, which is a trilogy that I just fell head over heels in love with. I think I read the first one the year that I started YouTube. I feel like that was my first big fandom obsession when I first started. And so this one I think follows the main characters in that series. They have a younger brother, and I believe that's him, and he gets connected to some sort of water nymph. I don't really know. The side of this does not tell you anything. It just says return to the opulent world of Elfheim, filled with intrigue, betrayal, and dangerous desires. So as always, I'll link all the books I talk about down below if you'd like to check out more about what this is about. I was sold because it's set in the same world that I really loved, and this is just a stunning addition, and I love all of the goldness of it. It says, here's more on the back. It says, a runaway queen, a reluctant prince, and a quest that may destroy them both. So, very excited about this. I feel like it's a duology. Hopefully we'll get to this one soon. I've said before, but I would love to reread the Cruel Prince series now that I have grown a little bit and my obsession with fantasy romance and certain things has increased. I feel like I'm going to get a new experience from that series. I don't know, there's just something about it that I feel like it would be fun to go back into the world. I just really enjoy this world, okay? And I'm excited that she is writing more things in this world and that we're following the same yet different characters. All right, the next section are a bunch of historical romances that I picked up. The first one is a Susan Enoch book, and that is It's Getting Scotland Here. It's the first in the Wild Wicked Highlanders series. This is a trilogy. I have the other two down here, and they all have some sort of pun. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like that's just Susan Enoch's way, because I have 4 books by her, and all of them are punny in some way. So do I know what this is about? No, it's a Highland romance, and it had a fun title. I don't actually know what this is about, so check everything down below if you'd like to know more. But puns in the title, Scottish Highland romance. That's really all I needed to know, and I now own the entire trilogy, which is exciting. This is, like I said, the first book, so I had the other 2, and I've just been collecting them at my used book warehouse, and I finally picked up this one, because the last time that I saw it there, it was missing a cover or something, and I was like, well, I don't need pretty pristine books, but I would like to have the cover on my book, So I picked that one up, and then I picked up 4 Lorian Heath books. So they are, again, all over the place. Some of these are different series, some of these are not. I just know that I didn't own them because, yes, I do have a spreadsheet that tells me what I own. So we have A Rogue in Texas, which is the first in a new series that is going to be the next one that I pick up. We have The Earl Takes All. We have To Marry an Heiress. And then we have Pleasures of a Notorious Gentleman. Now, I think all of these are part of a series in some way. I just don't remember where in the series they are. And like I said, A Rogue in Texas is a Western romance. The rest of these are like Regency era romances. So she has a couple of Western series that we're reading first, and then we're going to be diving into the others. But I've been slowly collecting her books just because now that we've started her stuff and we've read an entire series, I'm obsessed with her writing style, and I just think her books are beautiful. Like this one, To Marry an Heiress, do you see how stunning that cover is? I am obsessed. And then of course there's not a step back, but the back has like this beautiful thing on it. So again, this was an author buy because these are just a couple of ones that I saw there at my used book warehouse. They have like an amazing historical, specifically mass market paperback historical romance section. Like they have everything you can possibly think of. That's where I bought most of the Tessadera books when we were doing that series, or doing her books. So I picked up a bunch more, and yeah, I don't know what they're about, but I picked them up because of the author. The next book is my book of the month book that I picked up for July. I kind of go back and forth on if I pick something up. So like, for example, I don't think I'm getting an August book just because nothing in there like really stood out to me, but this one did. It's a thriller, so I'm hoping to get to this one a little bit later in the year when we get into like the fall vibes. I have really enjoyed some of their thrillers in the past. This one sounded really good, and so I decided to pick it up, and it is called Dark Corners, and it is by Megan Goldwyn. This author wrote Night Swim, which is a book that I've seen and not read, but it's a name that I didn't know, but the books that she has read in the past, I do actually know. She also wrote The Escape Room and Stay Awake. Now, this one follows our main character, Rachel, who is a true crime podcast star. And she returns to search for a popular influencer who disappeared after visiting a suspected serial killer. So it has a true crime podcast vibe to it. So there's like that kind of element. I feel like there's like influencers in this book, like the one who goes missing is an influencer on social media. That kind of intrigued me. I really like that true crime podcast vibe. Like, I really enjoyed Only Murders in the Building. That series on Hulu is amazing, and I love it. And so things like through that vein really interest me, and so something about this just kind of like spoke to me. So hopefully we'll get to this one in the fall. I'm not feeling thrillers right now per se. I'm not feeling fall right now, which is usually not the case, because usually August is when I start to feel like fall, but for some reason I'm just not quite in the fall mood yet. So this one will be a little bit later, probably October, November time, but I definitely want to get to this one this year because I have really enjoyed thrillers when I have read them, and some of the thrillers that I have received from Book of the Month are really, really good, and so something about this spoke to me, so I picked it up. I then have another special edition from Fairy Loot. I think this is my last special edition per se, and it is Last Violent Call by Chloe Gong, which is a collection of 2 novellas. I think it technically goes between her 2 series, although the characters in this are from These Violent Delights and not her newer series, which is Foul Lady Fortune, because there's 2 novellas in here. The first one is A Foul Thing, which follows Roma and Juliet, and then the second one is This Foul Murder, which follows Benedict and Marshall. And like I said, those are 4 characters, I guess, that we know from the first series, but I know that the second series follows similar characters. I have the first one, and I have not picked it up yet because I know that the second one is coming out soon-ish, so I'm thinking maybe I'll wait to read that when the second one comes out, because I have the special edition for Fairy Loot, so I'm going to wait until we get the special edition for the second one. That's unrelated, but I saw this and I thought it would be kind of cool to match my Fairy Loot editions. The first 2 in the series don't match, they're just the normal covers, but I love These Violent Delights. That duology is so good that I just became utterly obsessed with this author's writing, honestly. And these four characters are my four favorite characters from the series. So the fact that we have two novellas about them makes me very excited. These Violent Delights, I'm sure lots of people know what it's about, but it's a 20s reimagining of the story of Romeo and Juliet a little bit. It's got two rival gangs, and the children of the rival gangs are Roma and Juliet. It takes place during Shanghai in like the roaring 20s, and in the first book, gang members from both of the gangs start dying. And so, of course, the gangs think that it's the other one who's doing it. And then Roma and Juliet figure out that actually members from both gangs are dying in the same way. And so they kind of team up, and their like little crew kind of teams up to figure out what's happening, because it's clearly not just like one gang. It's like it's against both of them. So this is just a fun novella collection. I'm not a huge fan of novellas all the time, but because I love these characters, I knew I had to get it, and they had a special edition. So Fairy Loot has all my money. That's what happens at this point. And then I went to the used bookstore yet again. Well, it's the same one, but it's a different one. I went with my friend Lauren right before we went to New York City, and I picked up a bunch of stuff. So most of them are mass market paperbacks, because hello, the first one, actually, now that I'm looking at them, I picked up a bunch of Lorian Heath books, even more. Do I know what these are about? No, same thing as before. So the ones I picked up are Scoundrel of My Heart, and it says here it's Once Upon a Dukedom, so it's part of that series. We have The Return of the Duke, which is also Once Upon a Dukedom, so I'm thinking those are the first two books. We have A Duchess in His Bed, which is part of the Sins for All Seasons series. We have An Invitation to Seduction and Surrender to the Devil, which I can't remember exactly what series these two are part of, but they're part of a series as well. All of these, I believe, are Regency or Victorian, not Victorian, but like that Regency kind of English vibe. I don't know. Some of these are just absolutely stunning. So I, again, am not good and will not be able to tell you what these are about, because I bought them for the author, and whenever we get around to reading them, that's when I'll know. But they had a few more, so I picked up some more. Yay, historical romance. You can never go wrong, honestly. And then the other book that I picked up from that warehouse is Beautiful Player by Christina Lauren, which is the third full-length book in the Beautiful Bastards series. So if I remember correctly, there are 4 full-length novels in this series that follow a collection of different characters that all kind of like work in the same world. And then between each book is a novella, if I am correct on that. I know there's like 4 or 5 novellas and there's 4 books. So I think I've done the math right. So this is just the next one. This one follows our main character, Hannah, who basically gets a lecture from her brother that says, you have been neglecting your social life. You've just been so focused on grad school. Go out, have friends, go have fun, go on a date, do whatever. And she's like, all right, fine. So she sets her sights on his best friend, Will, who is basically a playboy. And so it's their relationship. It's pretty thick, honestly, for well, a romance in general, but like for the books in the series, there's a lot here, and I'm excited to see where we're gonna go. I love this series. It starts off, the first book is like an office romance that like is very, very smutty. So based on that, I'm sure all of these books are gonna be smutty, but I don't know who Hannah and Will are, but I think we know them through, like, I'm sure we'll meet them along the way, because that's kind of what's happened, is the novellas have introduced the characters from the next book, at least in like the one novella I've read. So I'm excited to see what this one's about, but I love this series so much, and I now have the next one. The next chunk are going to be the books that I picked up when I was in New York City, so I'll leave that vlog linked above if you'd like to check it out. The first one I picked up was Hex Appeal, and this is by Kate Johnson. This is a witchy rom-com that I'm very excited about. Definitely waiting until fall to pick this one up. But we follow our main character, Essie, who basically lives in the same place as a bunch of other witches, and they've lived there for a very long time. And then they get a new landlord, I think is how it's phrased. Yeah, a clueless new landlord named Josh, who, it says here, just discovered his tenants haven't paid rent since the 1700s. So does he know that they're witches? I don't know if they're trying to hide that from him, or if that's like a common fact. I don't really know how like the magic in this world is gonna go, but it definitely is giving me rom-com with witchy vibes, and there's honestly nothing better. So this one was the first book I picked up, and I picked this one up at Books Are Magic, if you'd like to know. The next two I picked up from the Barnes & Noble on Union Square. The first one is City of Thorns, and this is by C.N. Crawford. It's the first in the Demon Queen Trials series. I believe there's 3 in this series, and it was on their like sale rack, so I got this for super cheap, and it was already on my list. I don't know why it was on my TBR, but I definitely saw someone talking about this when they were talking about like fantasy romance and stuff that I was really interested in. So this one follows our main character, whose name we don't know because it doesn't say here on the back, but she on her birthday was kidnapped by the guy known as the Lord of Chaos. He is a demon because he mistakes her for his succubus doppelganger. Turns out she's not that, and he figures that out pretty quickly, and they basically strike up a bargain because her mother was, I believe, murdered, and she's trying to figure out who did it. And so he allows her to stay in this like other realm where she's convinced she's going to figure out who it is, and in doing so she's going to help him get the vengeance he craves. But the problem is that she's convinced that he is the one who killed her mother. So it's a thing between the two of them. I don't know what we're going to get into, but it was on my list and I saw it for cheap and I said, yes, please. So I picked that one up. And then I also picked up the 4th book in the From Blood and Ash series, The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have the first 3 in my beautiful Fairyland editions, and I think they've stopped doing them, but the size as far as like the hardback matches, so I'm not too upset. And also I was just flipping through and it's signed, so I was like, well, I have to get this one now. So I did. I picked this one up. I don't know what this book specifically is about because I am currently reading the 3rd one and I don't want to know anything about this one unless it spoils the 3rd one. But this series follows our main character Poppy, and I always like, the more we get into the series, the more I don't want to keep explaining it like I have been, because I'm basically explaining the first book only, and it just kind of is way more than that. But in the first book, we follow Poppy, who is the maiden, which means that she's being saved for the gods. So like, she is protected, she is covered from head to toe so no one can look at her, she can't really experience a lot of emotions, she can't be touched, things like that. And the series and book really gets kicked off when she gets a new bodyguard named Hawk. And so there's way more to him, and there's way more to the world than she knows, your normal fantasy romance plotline, and so this is just the next installment as far as the 4th one goes. I picked this one up. Did I need it right away? No, but it was signed, and I felt like that was a sign. Signed, so that I'm hilarious. And then I went to the Strand, which is like the place to go, you know, when you're in New York City, and I picked up a couple of things. I picked up the first book in the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Bacot, which is Captive Prince. This is one that I have heard no one online talk about, but I have a lot of like IRL friends who love it. And I was literally on vacation with a bunch of my friends from college like a month ago, and all they did was talk about how good this was. And because we have similar opinions, like a couple of them have read the ACOTAR series and have loved it, they said that like I would enjoy this, and I trust their opinion. So I found the first one and I decided to pick it up. It's set, from what I can understand, in like a Middle Ages kind of thing. We follow our main character Damien, who is the rightful heir to the throne, but his half-brother seizes it, and Damien's captured and kind of sent off to be a slave. And so he keeps his identity close to his chest because if anyone knew who he was, that would be not great for him. And so he becomes really close with the prince of this other town that's actually like the enemy. And I believe, if I'm correct, it's a romance between the two of them. But the first one's rough to get through because of said slavery. So it's not going to be fun. It's going to be like torture and not the best of things, but I've heard amazing things and I trust my friends. So I saw the first and the 3rd one there, and I almost picked up both, but I decided just to go with the first one to give it a chance, and if it's great, then we'll continue to collect it. I have a suspicious feeling it's going to be really good just based on my friends and the things that we have in common that we enjoy. So we're going to give this one a shot, but picked that one up. Literally have never seen it in a store or anything, and I saw it there and I felt like that was a sign. And I also picked up Rise at the School for Good and Evil by Soman Chinani. This is the first book in a new series that follows the founders of the School for Good and Evil. I love the series, School for Good and Evil. It's 6 books, it's kind of 2 arcs, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's this school, and they have 2 places. One is the School for Good, and one is the School for Evil, and in the first book you have 2 friends who are taken from their town to be kind of sent to this school, one for good, one for evil, and they think they know which school they're going to, and they actually end up going to the reverse, and because of that, it just kind of like catapults into this whole story. But this one follows the 2 brothers, if I am correct, that created the School for Good and Evil. Now, there is a second book already out, but I purposely was holding off on buying them because I wanted the paperback because it was going to match, in theory, it would match the entire series that I have in paperback. So it's a new series, but it's set in the same world. I love it. It's middle grade. I love Soman Chinani's work, and I don't know what we're getting into, but because I love the series so much, I'm really excited to see where he has taken the kind of like beginning origin story of the series, because we do get a little bit of that only in the School for Good and Evil, but not a lot. So I'm interested to see where he's going to take this. And I don't know if there's going to be more than 2 or if it's just going to be 2, but I have the first one, and that makes me excited. And then my favorite book that I picked up this month, I feel like it's very obvious. I've talked a lot about it. I finally got a copy of Fourth Wing because we stumbled across this little independent bookstore called the Corner Bookstore in New York City. It was amazing. I loved it. I literally turned the corner and there were 2 copies just sitting there, and I could not believe it because like it's sold out everywhere, you guys. It's not like fancy sprayed edges or anything, which I'm totally fine with, and I still haven't gone through my Kindle and tabbed this book because I have so much of the Kindle is highlighted and so much of the Kindle is, my Kindle copy is tabbed. I bought highlighters for this reason, so I'm going to go through and actually destroy this book, but it's because I love it, and I jumped on the hype train for this so quickly. So if you have somehow been living under a rock or 10, this book follows our main character Violet, and it takes place at this war college called Bisgayeth, and this college has a bunch of different like sections. Violet has always been trained as a scribe, so she is going to go to spend her time in the library and work as like historian, kind of archivist. That's the vibe that they give. But her mother was a writer, which means that they basically, in this world, you attach yourself to a dragon picks you, and then you are the only person who can ride that dragon, and because of that you have special abilities based on your dragon. There's a connection between you and your dragon, that kind of stuff. And that is like the soldiers in this world. So her mother is a general and she was a writer. Both her brother and her sister were writers, and so her mother is convinced that like, I don't care what you want, you're going to be a writer even if it kills you. And so this book starts with Violet going to the college and running into this guy named Xaden, whose father was the leader of a rebellion a while ago. And so they don't get along because of their parents. So it's about dragons. It's the way that it was described to me, which is why I wanted to pick it up in the first place, was if you are a fan of How to Train Your Dragon and you love that kind of vibe, this is perfect. There's a dragon in here called Tarn that reminds me so much of Toothless because they're both sassy and I love it. So if you like that, that's your thing. If you are a fan of Sarah J. Maas's addictive writing style, that's also something that like the same vibe is in this book. And those were the 2 things that I was told, I'd read somewhere, someone had told me about. So that's why I read this book, and it was honestly worth the hype. I got sucked in actually quite immediately. I think I was like a chapter or 2 in and I was already hooked on what was going on. So I finally have a copy and it's a good day. So that's the highlight of all things. I then got a lovely gift from my friend Taylor in the mail. She sent me this book by Joanna Lindsay, which is Wildfire in His Arms. I love Joanna Lindsay. I have a lot of her books. I have not read a lot of her books. I just keep collecting her books, which is a different story. But I don't have any Westerns. And because I'm starting to get into Westerns a little bit more, at least the ones that I've tried have been good, I am definitely willing to give her a chance because she's an author that I enjoy. So I think that her Westerns are going to be fantastic. And I know that she has quite a few Westerns, and I've always kind of steered clear of them when I was at the store. But now Taylor has opened a brand new avenue of book buying, which I'm not sure she realized she did, and now I'm going to buy a bunch of stuff. So I think this is a standalone. I don't think it's part of a series, but it follows our main character Deegan, who is a U.S. Marshal. He basically is called to apprehend 3 outlaws. He thinks it's going to be a super easy one-man job, but one of them is this bold young woman that causes him trouble. So into romance. Also, this cover is stunning. Can you see like the beautiful sky in the background? Like I just love that so much. So thank you so much, Taylor. This is awesome. I cannot wait to dive into it, hopefully soon. And now I have a Western by Joanna Lindsey, so I'm going to buy more Westerns by Joanna Lindsey because hi. And then the last 2 books were from my most recent Fairy Loot unboxing, so I'll leave that linked above if you want to check it out, if you don't want to be spoiled for, I believe it is the July YA book, if I am correct. Yeah, July YA book, June adult book. Here's your warning. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. So, the July, no. I haven't, my boxes are kind of all over the place at this point, so these are very different than what I usually do, because I would usually do June together and July together, but here we are. So, the July YA book that we got was Threads That Bind, and this cover is so shiny, it's really hard to even show you the title of it, but it's by Kiki Hatsupolu, maybe? From what I can remember, it follows our main character, Io, who is descended from the Fates, and because of that, she can see connections. So she can see these threads that connect people and like their destiny and things of that nature. And because of this ability, she works as a private investigator. The story kicks off when she witnesses a murder, but it's no ordinary murder because the killer's lifeline was severed, but for some reason he is still alive, and she is dumbfounded by this. And so she ends up being paired with this guy who was another witness. His name is Eddie, but she's conflicted because they are connected, and this is like the thread that connects them is like he is her destiny. And so the 2 of them, I think, work together to figure out what happened. So it's got a little bit of a murder mystery twist, but also like there's going to be a romance clearly between the 2 of them because of the connection that only she can see. So that sounds really good. I don't know when I'm going to get to this, but hopefully I'll be doing another installment of that Fairy Loot video that I did. I think it was in July. I did a vlog where I read a bunch of Fairy Loot books, so hopefully I'll get to do that again soon, because that definitely helped reading as far as like actually reading the books that I get from Fairy Loot, because I am really good at not doing that. And then the adult book was Shanghai Immortal, and this is by A.Y. Chow. I cannot get over how beautiful this cover is. Now, I don't think there's anything specifically different about the cover itself. The rest of the book is beautiful, and it's got straight edges, and like the cover of the book is different, and the end pages are different and all that kind of stuff, but I think the cover itself is the same, and I just can't get over how stunning this is. I think it's beautiful. So this book follows our main character, Lady Jing, who is half vampire, half fox spirit, and she is the ward of the king. And I think it's like an immortal king, and he's like in a different realm, if I am correct. But she's the ward, and so she's just kind of trying to live her life. And then a bunch of courtiers, she overhears them talking about stealing the priceless dragon pearl from the king. And she's like, this is not happening. So she ends up teaming up with Immortal. I don't know why he needs to know, but he's somehow involved. And they team up to try to figure out how to stop this. So you've got heisty vibes a little bit, but it is an adult debut that talks and deals with Chinese deities and demons cavorting in Jazz Age Shanghai. So it's set in the 20s. So I am very excited about this. I think it's going to be amazing. The cover is beautiful. I love a good book that has a fantasy romance vibe to it, and the 20s time period is one that I don't read a lot from, but when I do, I always enjoy it. So I'm excited about this one as well. And that's it. That's a look at all the books that I picked up in the month of July. Like I said, there was a lot here. So far so good. August is different. We shall hopefully keep that ball rolling, because I just have so many things on the shelves that now, y'all know I love buying books, and I'm a huge fan of hoarding and things of that nature, but now I've gotten to the point where I am just overwhelmed. So hopefully the next few months I can just hone down what I've got here. But you know, never say never with me because I'm just really bad at listening to my own plans. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll leave all of the links down below, like I mentioned early on, of any book that I talked about in this video. So if you'd like to go check out what it's about. But of course, if you've read or have any thoughts on any of the books that I mentioned in today's video, I would love to know all of your thoughts down below. And if you want to comment something but you're not sure what to comment the book stack emoji, because we have a lot. There's a lot of stacks going on here. So comment that. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome and growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so check all that out. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!